today is in celebration of International Women's Day, and our guest speaker is Carly. And I'll go ahead and just transfer it to her now.
Hi, Daisy. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing, and I hope everyone can feel a little inspired after this. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to, you could shout it out, put it in the chat, whatever you want, and I am happy to answer it. If you don't feel comfortable or something pops in your head later on, Daisy's going to be sending this out to you along with a PDF email template that it's what I use when I send out cold emails, but my info will also be attached. So feel free at any time to email me. I don't go on Instagram all that much, but you can DM me. I might see it, but email me if you have questions. So a little bit about myself. My name's Carly. I own a floral design company called Flower LA. It's FLOUR LA because it was going to be a bakery florist, but I started in the recession and only stuck to flowers. So now it has a name that doesn't make sense. But hey, people seem to remember it. So I started that back in 2009. I was working when I graduated college, I graduated from UCLA after taking a few years off. And we were in the recession. I was working at the organ and tissue donor agency. So random. And I had always known that I wanted to start a business. I had seen a lot of entrepreneurs. I had dated entrepreneurs, and I just wanted to be my own boss. And I'm a little bit bossy, I guess. Well, I don't know if we say that. I'm confident and empowered. So um, two things, that's a little bit about me. And I started out of my apartment with nothing. I mean, literally nothing. And I basically read a lot, met with a lot of people, and figured out how to do things on my own, which has served me well as I've grown and expanded. I have a lot of friends that started and put a lot of money I didn't have. So that's part of the reason, but they put their own money into their businesses and ultimately they failed. I never paid for PR ever. I had a mentor that told me that. She said, don't pay for it. You know how to sell yourself and what you're offering. And I saw a lot of people doing that and just making financial mistakes. So, in a way, it's better when you start with nothing because you have to get a little bit crafty and creative. And you don't want to get into that habit. Even to this day, I don't pay for any advertising. So, okay, Daisy has the slide. And one thing I also want to say before I get started that's really important to consider when you're starting a business, whether it's a side hustle, side hobby, product, or service, you really want to consider what is called the E myth. It's the entrepreneur myth. It basically means that just because you're a baker and you love baking doesn't mean you would love running a bakery or running a bakery business. Even though my business, I'm a florist and I have a floral design studio. I always just say I'm in the business of flowers because honestly, 90% of my time is spent on the computer, meeting with people, hustling still after this long. So that's just something to really think about if you want that responsibility. If you don't, because a lot of people don't like doing that part, it's completely fine to work for someone else and doing that. That's not what this talk is about. However, I just wanted to point that out and also point out that so much of what holds us back are fears and opinions and judgments. And I mean, I felt that way for a long time too. And you have to kind of realize that that's almost a egotistical way of looking at it. It's thinking you're so important that everyone else is judging you and paying attention when we all have so much going on in our own lives, things that we make a big deal about in our head. No one else really notices. So I just want to impart that on you that we are our own worst critics and we do fear the judgment, but no one's judging you. So do the smallest amount possible that's tolerable for you because all this information might seem overwhelming, and it can be, but you pick one thing you're going to do. So say you want to start a website or something like that, pick one thing and break it down into the smallest possible pieces so that you can check it off the list. And everything takes a really long time, so much longer than we expect or give ourselves and then we feel like a failure. This happens for everyone. So I just want to say be kind to yourself and compassionate and not so hard on yourself. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. You have to believe in yourself because half the time you're the only one that will be. So that's just a little bit my little spiel there. But back to sort of my timeline on all this. So yeah, I started out my apartment and I started with daily orders. I made my own website and I would suggest for whatever you have, that's the most important thing you can do. Like some people don't even have that. You can use Squarespace. I use Weebly. There's Wix. I know there's a ton of free ones. Do that, and you need to have your work on there because most people will find me through Google. A lot of people will say, oh, Instagram or this or that. And that's not true. Think about who's searching for things. It's the most random people are going to be assigned with finding what you have to offer. And you really want to make sure in Google when someone's typing that you pop up. Okay. So that is definitely important. So I started my own website. It wasn't very good, but hey, it's still something. And I taught myself SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's a great way to market yourself. You want to have a website and have it searchable because every day that you don't, that's a day you're losing business. Everything else is going to take a long time and networking and all that, but you do need to have that. So I would suggest having just a basic understanding. I did take out SEO for Dummies, I think, from the library, and it will help you with keywords and how to optimize your site. It's monotonous, it's boring, and you might want to outsource that to maybe a colleague who's good at it, or just do a trade or barter something that you can offer for someone to do that. It is boring, but go ahead and do it. I do it myself, and that has made probably the biggest difference, I will say. So I did that. I had an idea for a book, and that was before Pinterest and blogs, and there was no Instagram, there was Facebook. And so I had this idea, and it was just going to be a floral design book. I kind of wanted to be the Rachel Gray of flowers. So it was based on just how the everyday person could learn flowers because all the books had all this scientific jargon that I didn't understand. I remember a friend, an acquaintance, she was a planner, and she said to me, I didn't even think of that. She's like, I can't believe you came up with this idea only a year after you had your business. I thought that you had to have 10 years of experience. And that just thought to cross my mind, but I thought that was such an interesting observation. So if there's something that you might not be an expert in, but you know how to do, or there's a need, or just something you want to see, go ahead and start that process. And it's good to have different things going on because, again, it's going to take a while to get all this stuff out there. So you can work on maybe a concept for that while you're, changing it up. These kinds of things you're going to have to work on at nights or in the evening, just an hour in front of the TV, stuff like that you can do while doing something else. So go ahead and empower yourself to follow through with the ideas, even if you think that you're not qualified. I didn't go to like flower school or anything like that. I mean, really, everything I've done, I've learned, I've studied, and I just try to mimic and replicate. So go ahead and do that. Make yourself an expert in the thing that you want to do. You know. Okay, so basically, I had that idea. That took years. It took probably 5 years from the idea to when it sold, and that included me getting free press, getting an agent, a very long process, having that sold. So it was a really long process, but I did work on other aspects of my business and just collaborating with other people so that when the agent went to sell the book, I had enough, they call it a platform, but enough of a presence to back up what I was trying to do. So I was working on that. I then got into weddings, which I didn't like. I had nice brides, but I just didn't like the lead time. It's really just not how I work. I like shorter term. So I was doing that and then had a nervous breakdown. Something we we'll all probably have in business and in life, and moved to New York where my brother lives, I was waitressing. And then I happened to have two PR clients or friends, and I kind of just reached out to say, hey, I'm here. And they said, are you doing work out here? And I was like, sure. So I always, always, always said yes to any project that someone had, and then figured it out later. And it works out. You'll figure it out. You might be scrambling, but that's okay. And so I started getting work out there. Then my book sold. I'm glossing over a lot, but this is sort of how it all happened over years and years. And then I eventually moved back to LA. So let me just see on here. These are just, yeah, some accomplishments. We can move on. Okay, I also want to let you know that, like most people, I've had a lot of failed ideas. I really thought they were going to be big too. And I think about all the time and all that stuff that I like wasted. But you know what? I'll tell you what. Most of these I wasn't really passionate about, and I was just doing it because I thought I should, or it could have opportunity, and my heart wasn't in it. And so even though I was hustling, that can only take you so far eventually. It's either just not going to make sense and you should know when to quit, or your heart's not going to be in it and you don't have that drive. And so those were just some of the ideas that I've had over the years. Okay. So, what you're going to want to do when you want to market yourself and grow your business is find someone. I know this seems obvious, but find someone that or a company that you would like to replicate that inspired you, and literally do what they do. I know you won't go on the same path. None of us have the same path. Mine is definitely zigzag. Some other person's is like that. But just having sort of an outline of your next steps and what you can do is at least some sort of blueprint. And if they're successful, follow what other successful people are doing. That's how I got a lot of my ideas. My inspiration was, like I said, Rachel Ray. And so I read up on what she did. I read a biography of Martha Stewart just to see how people in business that are managing all these things, how do they think? And that is very, very, very important, because all these people are going to be trying to do the same thing, get to the same finish line. And you don't want to be just another person that you want to differentiate yourself and give yourself new opportunities, create your own opportunities. Half the stuff, again, I've created. I'll contact someone and say, can I do this or that? And people are happy, they want to know what's being offered out there. You're not bugging them at all. So I picked Rachel Ray, like I said, and I looked up what she did. She started doing little demos in a gourmet store. So I contacted Whole Foods, which I'm like, wow. Yeah, I contacted Whole Foods. I was living in Venice, and I was like, I will do some flower classes. I was so terrified. Oh my God. So terrified to speak. Oh, I was probably shaking, but you just get more confident with experiences, but it was pretty bad. And I said, I'll teach you flower classes. And the people can use your flowers. And I just wanted to test myself, challenge myself. Also, it's a nice credit to say, oh yeah, I'm teaching at Whole Foods. At the time, it was, looked upon as something great for your resume. And they actually printed a whole poster of me. So this was free PR. They put in the windows. People were like, I saw your face in there. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know what I'm doing. But I did about maybe like 5 classes there. And again, it helps. It's good for pictures. So maybe there's some store, doesn't have to be a whole retail chain. Maybe there's just some local store that makes sense to whatever you're doing, that you can say, hey, can I do a little pop-up in here or a little demo? And again, it's just a good way to test out something and see if you like it, if you're good at it. Maybe then you can offer that as a service afterwards. And again, start small. I'm actually an extrovert introvert. Like, I like hanging out with one person, but big groups, I just get anxiety. So I just would always have a buddy or a friend. And I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but it does help when you put your shoulders back, head high, be nervous, and just see it as a challenge. If you hate it, so what? It's done. So yeah, that's how I kind of started to get a sense of if this is something I would like to do. And I did like it. So that little doing those classes then led me to doing classes at the Flower Mart in downtown LA. And I started when I had lived in New York doing them in Brooklyn. I actually found people that would collaborate with me and freelance with me that liked doing it as well. And I'm someone that just thinks that it doesn't matter the person's skill really, as long as they're competent and you get along. That's more important because they can be taught anything. So that's how I sort of looked at managing a whole team. Let me see. You should also, if you have no um, experience with entrepreneurship, it's really good to just look on websites or magazines like Entrepreneur or Inc. You'll really get an insight into how these people think. And it's just a good way to open your mind when it comes to that. Let me see. Next. Okay. So, another thing to market yourself and something that will help you, especially when times are slow or you're feeling frustrated, or maybe just you're not getting the sales or response you want, is you want to think of a lot of other services and products that you can offer in addition to what you're already doing. So I just put some examples off the top of my head. So for me, it was workshops. There was like a lot of bridal parties, and people always like that. And it was something that was easy that I didn't have to speak at too much, but an activity, team building, and on-site activities. If I thought if you had a say a coffee business, you could always offer little gift bundles or do demos and then offer the discount for if they buy if they're there watch your demo, give a discount to what they buy. um, Jewelry, anything that you're going to have extras of, like say you're making a necklace but then you have extra materials, turn that into something. Don't try to use every part. Even in flowers I do that, try to use every part, every material that you are spending money on. And then for a t-shirt business I just put um, collaborate, and you can do this with any business, with similar businesses to offer deals and do styled photo shoots. I did those when I first started out, and you will find a little bit of expense for the materials and obviously your time, but it's worth it to meet other people and to again get photos for your website and to promote. And cross promoting is the best and easiest and free way to go ahead and reach another audience that is into a similar demographic of what you're already doing. So I did that a lot with um, all sorts of companies, really. And I did with sunglasses and jewelry companies for Valentine's Day or any of these holidays. And whether I got sales or not, that wasn't really the important part. It was getting the exposure and meeting people, because then down the line, they might think of you. Okay. I just want to talk about something that is probably the biggest lesson I learned that I hadn't thought about. I was working at a flower shop and I couldn't believe it. It was in LA. They were making these really big arrangements and they were beautiful, but they were charging $12,000 each. Even to this day, I'm like, that's insane. So $12,000 each. And I was like, who's paying for this? Like, what? And the designer is like, well, why? It's not your money. That's what they want to spend. I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. And even when I was doing weddings and stuff like that, I was working with another florist that was a wedding florist. And she was saying, even in her emails, I hate to talk about money and it's just really uncomfortable. And I told her, well, it might not be for them. This is probably something they've been thinking about. You don't know what they've saved or what they want to spend their money on. Don't project your own thoughts on everything onto them, because that's not fair either. So I just want to remind you that even if what you're offering sounds high and it's not something you would buy, there are people that will and value that. And really, what you're selling is your craftsmanship, your ideas, your time. And we often think, oh my God, anyone could do this. Why would they buy this? But they don't. you know? Another example I just thought of is I worked at Flower Shop, a different one, and this lady came in and she was like, "This orchid, I saw this orchid downtown for $12." I was like, "Yeah, that's true." They were selling it for $75. So she was all pissed, and then she ended up buying it because she wasn't gonna go downtown. So also just keep in mind what you're offering is convenience and charge properly for your time. So I just want really, really, really want to reiterate that as you go through expanding and growing. Okay. A lot of what I do for marketing is cold emailing. And once again, you're going to get the templates, but I will, I'll do, when I first started, I seriously did like 50 a day, just copy, paste, copy, paste. And sometimes you don't get anything and sometimes you do. But again, it's just getting your word out. And a lot of this stuff is time consuming, but also easy. So you would want to make a one sheet that has samples of your work or a little bit about you. And I just had like a friend of a friend make this one. This is ours that we use. It's not the best. I'm sure it could be flashier, but it serves its purpose. I've used it for years now, and it just says all the services that my company offers, a little summary about what we specialize in, something that can be easily scanned, a little bit about my book, and then partial client list. Again, when you're first starting out, you're not going to have all of these things, but that's okay. Just put one or two, and something is better than nothing. It's also a great, I did have a point, it's a great way to not have to talk to people. I don't know if you're like me, but email is always best. It's just, I don't know, maybe you, I, look, some people don't mind talking, but for me, I prefer outreach by email right now. That being said, you do want to join networking groups. So I would encourage you all to join women's business groups. I have learned so much from them and gotten so much support and just reassurance. And you really see that everyone's kind of in the same boat. You know, you can look on Instagram and all the smoke and mirrors and illusions, but you really never know what's going on besides behind that and if they're even making sales. So I highly, highly, highly suggest joining either online or in person, and specifically a women's business group, because I found that's just more empowering. You can also, when I first started out, you can find mentoring through SCORE. You can go on the SBA website, and it's entrepreneurs, retired entrepreneurs, and they do free mentoring. So I did meet with them. You can put in your location or all over the country. I did meet, and they told me the easiest ways to set up my business, smarter ways like do this, 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 and this. And that's really important on saving money and your time. So I would encourage you to do that. I had lived in near Manhattan Beach in El Segundo, like kind of by El Segundo, and was doing a little search and found a women's entrepreneurship mentoring program through the city. And there was all these women's biographies, and I picked one. She actually ended up introducing me to my mentor I had for when I was going through all my book stuff, who then became a friend, and we actually help each other now. So go ahead and do that. You just want to have someone that you get along with and admire, that you can just go to with questions. And then there's also Facebook groups for whatever industry you're in. You guys probably know that, and business groups there. But I would suggest an actual business community that has the in-person events and online. So I would really encourage that. Okay. When you're asked what to do for when you're marketing, you have to be very, very, very specific. This took me a little while to understand, but it's a good way to get on people's radars. So instead of saying I own a florist or I am a florist, I would say I own a floral design studio where we mainly do installations, flower walls, and large scale events for tech, fashion, beauty. And then people are like, oh, okay. Oh, my friend works in this beauty theater. My friend works in this tech thing. And oh, you do that, you can do that. And so that's when it's good to know also the services that you offer that you can brainstorm, even if you're not doing it yet. You want to give people a visual of what can be done. Same thing for where do you live. So instead of saying I live in Venice Beach in LA, you can say, I live in LA, but we do weddings in all of Southern California, from Santa Barbara to Palm Springs to San Diego. So in their head, they can kind of like make a triangle and know, like, oh, okay, well, again, I might have some work in Palm Springs this summer, or could you do favors for this or photography for that? And so be specific again with the region, not just a city, because people won't think of that. They won't if you live in LA or wherever and they have something in Orange County, they're probably not going to think that you would be willing to go down there. So that's why I like to be specific with the business and the area that I cover. Okay. When we're networking, again, these are marketing ideas that are uncomfortable for many of us. Some people are huge extroverts and they have no problem, but for us that are introverts, it can be just dreadful. And so a lot of the ones I went to, the people were pretentious and maybe just sucked, and that's it. And I always tell myself, you know what, just show up. Just show up. You can always leave. Like, just get there. Even if you stay for 5 minutes, hey, at least you did that. So just forcing yourself to go. And you're going to want to make friends with other, basically other competitors. So people that do what you do, or other vendors that would be going to the event anyway. I remember I did go to one by myself. I was standing there all like lonely and sad. And this girl just turned around. I was like, hey, what's your name? And she was a makeup artist. And we did become real friends. And then she introduced me to her other vendors in the industry. Now I'm much more like, hi, I'm Carly, because you realize that we're all in the same boat. We're generally happy to be saved from just standing by themselves. So you can make real friends in the industry and you will get referrals from them. It's an easy, easy way to get business. And okay, I think it's also on the next slide. So when you do, oh, that was my little encouragement. When you do your cold emails, and if there's someone that you want to work with, what I like to do is if I see an event or some kind of thing within the industry, I'll say like, hey, really like your work. I think it would be cool to just get to know you. I saw this event. Would you want to go? And even if you hate the person, hey, at least you have some like a buddy to go with. And then if the event stinks, you both can leave. But it's a good way to get yourself out there and then have a friend or someone to tag along with. This was just my little inspiration for you guys. I remember once I was just like, there's hundreds of florists and what am I doing? And just super frustrated. And my friend said to me, the cream will always rise to the top. There'll always be a million people doing what you're doing and competitors, but eventually the people that are doing something cool or persisting will always rise up. And so I just wanted to say that as a reminder. Also, when you're doing all this and say you're trying to do cross promotions and doing like emails and trying to make friends and put yourself out there, if you don't see the immediate reward, it doesn't mean that it's not gonna happen. You just kind of have to keep going. And when I started out, I really didn't pay attention to competition. I would see some things that would inspire me, like, oh, I'd love to do that kind of work. Work I'm doing now was definitely work. I was like, oh, I wish I could do that and get to that level. And I eventually did after a long time, but that's sort of how I viewed people doing the same thing. It's a bad, bad, bad idea. Don't go down the Instagram spiral or Facebook or whatever and measure yourself against others, because you never know what's going on. It's much more important to spend that time focusing on what you're doing and just kind of have tunnel vision. Know what's going on. You should know what's going on and have some idea and know what people are buying and wanting and what's trending, but really just stay in your own lane. Okay, this is a good tip for getting more business and marketing yourself is working with novices. So I remember I got the advice from a mentor, someone I met in the mentorship group through Manhattan Beach. And I was like, I don't want to work with these other people starting out because no, I'm starting. I want to work with the bigger people. And she was like, yeah, but when you work together, first of all, they're more likely to work with you because you're both starting out. And as you grow, then you can still send business your way and have that sort of loyalty and that journey together. And honestly, that was very true. So no matter what you're doing, what if you're making a product or a service, find whoever would be your referral and who's also starting out and contact them and say, hey, I saw something and I think I would probably be a good fit. Again, you can invite them. It's always better, obviously, to meet in person, but you could even do like FaceTime or Zoom. If you see an online event, say like, hey, I thought maybe this would be of interest. You just want to make those connections and they will definitely pay off in the long run. And you'll be able to be a little bit more vulnerable and honest. I feel like, especially when you're going through that same journey. Um, that being said, you will also did I put this on this one? You're also going to want to make friends with, like I said before, your competitors. Feel bad saying that, but the people I was in my women's networking group, and the founder introduced me to another florist who was, we did about the same work, about the same age. And I was pissed. Like, of all the people, of all the people there, they're doing cool things. She introduced me to another florist. And in fact, that person became a great confidant, and we were able to pass referrals to each other because if you can't do something, then you're going to want to pass that on to someone that you know. So that's a great way to get marketing and referrals. And to this day, that still happens. If there's something I don't want to do, or someone, something, the date's booked or whatever, doesn't work, I always refer it out and you build that reciprocal relationship. And you can also text that person with a zillion questions, or I said yes to this, how would you do it, or do you have a vendor for this? So definitely make friends also with people that you would think would be your competitors. This kind of goes along with what I was saying before about putting your heart into something and the ideas that didn't work for me and those that did. So you want to find your niche and find something that excites you, because it is often, a long climb, but it is worth it when you get there. You just want something that you can go forward with, that you feel it in your heart. And again, for me, it wasn't what I was doing at that time. Like, I was making maybe $10 a day if someone ordered flowers and I was all excited. But long term, I was like, I want to do these cool events. I want to have my book. I want to do all these things that did happen. But I felt very passionate about that. And it got me through those early years of really being broke and being unsure. So you do need something in your head and that you feel that will get you to the place you want to be, no matter how long that takes. So when I finally got to do the work that I'm doing now and working with the PR firms and putting cool events together for brands, that finally felt good. And when I was doing all the work just to get work or make money, it really led to a breakdown of sorts. So I just want to tell you that when you're starting out, or if you've already started something, if you're getting dread when you wake up, you're just like, what am I doing? Or it just doesn't feel good. It's okay to stop. It's okay to stop something, even if you put time and money into it, because there's no point really in feeling like that. And I have definitely felt that I should have been doing something, or someone told me like, well, if you want business, you have to do this or do that. And I would just wake up with feeling like, when's this day going to be over? So just whatever you're feeling deep down, especially as women, we're very intuitive. I would just follow that, because again, it's kind of those longer term goals that will keep you moving forward and bring you on a journey that you couldn't even imagine. It can be better than you even imagine. Like, I think about all the stuff that I did and all the partnerships and all that. And again, the zigzag path, and it did lead me to somewhere I didn't even have in my mind, you know? So I just want to put that out there. Okay. Some last words. Once you build this up, and you're going to want to do it until you feel comfortable and confident, or more comfortable. You might not ever be 100%, but when you feel good in what you're doing, then go ahead and say no to everything else. I said yes to too many things that weren't really what I wanted to do. And again, that leads you down a path you really don't want to go to, because if you keep saying yes to all these small things, those are generally the same referrals you're going to get from that sort of demographic. Um, it's good to do things for free. I always try, again, not to spend money, but I always will give my time, and you just have to weigh it. Is this worth it? Is it something I want to do that no matter what happens, I'll find joy in? If it has a very nominal cost, then I'll do it. But giving your time is good to build up your portfolio and feel comfortable and gain that experience. And once you do, it's okay to raise your prices and raise your value or your worth, because you've earned it, and sometimes you might lose clients that aren't used to that, and I did. But I also knew that the cost of supplies and my time, if you really think about it, I understood that, okay, well, they prices have risen, and you can explain that. And as you lose some customers, you'll gain others. um, and just a reminder that you're gonna have ebbs and flows. You might try to meet 50 people, and then one is the one that gives you all these referrals, and then you have that for your portfolio, and then that work leads to more work. It's definitely a catch 22 of, you need work to show what you can do, but you can't get that without the work, without creating it. So I do understand that that's a challenge. But even when you get to a level that you think of as successful, or you want to pat yourself on the back, or however you define it, there's still going to be more. It's always a hustle. It is. It really is. It's worth it. But I don't think that the people that freelance for me realize how much work I do. They're only seeing when I hire them, or if I post something, they're not seeing the hours and hours and hours. And it's just something to keep in mind, um, because it is a lot of work, and it's worth it. And you really do have to stay on top of it, because again, there's hundreds of other people doing my same thing. Everyone's replaceable. They are. I'm replaceable. Everyone is, for what they're doing for the most part. So that's why you just have to stay on top of it, especially if you've worked that hard, then you want to keep that going. But it's okay if things are slow. It's okay if you're feeling down. It's okay if you need to just take some time off. I definitely did. It wasn't like for 10 years I was just only doing this. I had side jobs and everything when I felt like it was just too much. And that's okay too. You can have a little evidence journal of all your wins. Like, okay, I was feeling that, but hey, I sold a few things and that was really fun. And I challenged myself, so that when you are in sort of a lull, when you feel like there's no way you're ever going to feel motivated again, or what am I doing, or all that, you can look and say, But yeah, I had felt like that, but I also did accomplish this, this, and this. And it could be the smallest things too. But it's good to have something to reflect on to know that that's just the nature of things. So, that being said, I would love it if you have any questions, you can throw it in the chat. If you want to know how something specific, go ahead and feel free to ask me. Some of the books, or really the most important book I read when I was starting out that really got me thinking about marketing and not spinning my wheels, is The 4 Hour Work Week. That is a pretty famous book. I think it's been on the bestseller list for at least 5 years. And it's by Tim Ferriss. And a lot of what he wrote in there, I followed. So again, just taking what someone's already done, taking their lessons, seeing if there's a through line between the companies you like, or the industry, or who's doing what, and trying to replicate it. And ultimately, you're going to put your own twist on it, your own self on it. So that's still what I do to this day. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Leanne. This has been, oh, thanks. You know, you never know. What you're saying is making sense, and I'm undiagnosed ADD. So thank you. Did you start a networking group specific for your industry? Yes, I did. So I'm trying to think. No, I didn't. So networking groups, I had again done a Google search. The one I was in, it was called Smarty, SMARTY. It was for women entrepreneurs from all industries, and they would have speaker panels. It was really cool. I think it kind of disbanded. So I was in that. And then there's it's a group for businesses. It's just solely a business referral program called BNI. It's international. You pay that one. You pay, it might have been like 1,000 or 1,500, which I did not have. I can tell you, I did not have that. And I went ahead and just tried it. And basically, if you think that you can get enough sales, like if I could book 2 weddings from that, then it would be worth it. But ultimately, the time commitment and effort for that was just too much for me for what I was getting out of it. So when I was starting out and I was doing a lot of weddings, there were a lot of wedding industry events. There are networking groups for that, but I mainly went to those events. And again, I went with just a buddy. And again, just tell yourself you can always leave. I do that for anything to this day. So yeah, I would just search in your area, women's business group, women's networking group, and at least start there. And you'll find people just starting out, not having a business, super successful, and you'll get other referrals to other groups through there. I hope that answered your question. Okay, good. Oh, my word just popped up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can impart. Daisy, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions at the moment, but just a friendly reminder to everyone. Um, this is meant for inspiration to motivate you, especially what Carly has gone through, especially if this is helping you for your own career path within the company you're in right now. Or you know what, also I really encourage you, if you want to start something small on the side in addition to what Carly said, especially to the fact that like you want to pursue something else that would make to enlighten your day, right, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and I try to also tell people, like, I was a night receptionist the first year, then I was on unemployment just because of things. And then I had, yeah, and then I waitress. I did take on a full time job, and I realized that wasn't for me. So you do want to start in these small things and not put that pressure on yourself to be immediately successful or have, make enough to support you full time. I think it's way better to just do the little things like you were saying, Daisy, and just anything that would inspire you. And if you can make money, hey, extra income's always good. I could go on and on and on about this. And so, just to recap, finding a mentor, doing cross promotions. And again, that's online. So if you're introverted, you can easily just do that online with like minded businesses or someone you want to work with. The people that are above you that you want to work with offer to do something or collaborate. An example I did put in there, I'll just say, is when my book came out, I really wanted to be at the Strand bookstore. It's a famous bookstore in New York, and it was just a dream. And both my agent and the publisher said no, they don't. They don't want you. They mainly did celebrities and memoirs, and I was like, screw that. So I went there myself, talked to whoever was doing the events or visualizers. It was two people around, my age at the time. They're super cool. And I was like, I would really love to be here. And I said, in exchange, I'll just make a sign and flowers with your logo. And they were like, okay. And so I got to have my little book party launch there. And it was a nice FU to everyone that said that I couldn't. So again, you can get creative in what you can offer or even barter. That's always a good way to market, cross promote. Don't spend money. That's my number one tip. Do not spend money. You don't have to. And learn everything. Learn every single thing. So you know how long it takes and how much it should cost. I time myself with everything because eventually, if I delegate it, I want to make sure that I'm not getting ripped off and I understand what it takes.
Again, thank you everyone for joining in. We have a few minutes to spare in case if you guys want to ask any questions, or if not, please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me. This is recorded, and so I think Daisy can send that out to the people that missed this and the PowerPoint, and you'll get the email templates, which I think you're going to find super, super helpful. They're really short, but you can use it if someone's canceling a job or a cold email. So I think you'll just see how I think and the words I use when reaching out to someone. I keep it really, really short because I don't want them to delete it. So, yeah. Yes, the timing yourself. I try to delegate and outsource everything. Another thing I will just say, I can just keep going. Another thing I'll say is there's a site called Upwork. It used to be called Elance, and you can hire anyone to do anything from all over the world, stuff that you're not good at. So you should outsource the things that you just naturally aren't good at or are going to take you too much time. I moved to Nashville a few years ago, and I basically created a cold email list. And I found a virtual assistant. I forget where maybe she was located, I think in the Philippines. And I said, I want you to reach out to every single PR firm in Nashville. Here's a template. Whatever email, I forget what I used. I may have created something for her for that. And again, that's sort of like working a little bit smarter. Maybe it cost me not a lot, maybe 20, $25 for her to do that work. And it would have taken me so long. It would have also made me crazy. So money like that, you can always think about outsourcing the admin tasks that way. And then for everything else, definitely time yourself and know how to do it. Yeah. It was so fun being with you guys.
So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you to participating, and also Carly, I really appreciate your time. I know when we spoke initially, I definitely felt that urge to to let the word out, everybody. as well.
Appreciate it. No, all the feelings, all the feelings.